Presented by That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster, this is Shonen Jumping the Gun, the show where we set our sights on the first chapter of a manga and decide if it's a misfire or a bullseye.
Let's see how many rounds are in this magazine.
On today's episode, Undead, Unluck. Welcome, everybody. I am Undeniable Kermit the Grog, here with Unsakai, Isekai Sensei Sama Brad. Brad, how you doing?
I am trying my hardest to leave this world. But not like that.
But like that. I just want to stop being. No, not like that. Not like that. You didn't already catch the memo. We're talking about Undead, Unluck today. I should have looked up when the first chapter was.
The first chapter was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Spoiler alert. There's some more chapters than the first one. We'll talk about how many later. But suffice it to say, it's been around longer than I think any series we've talked about on this podcast so far, and probably for a long time.
I lied.
You guys covered Dragon Ball. I wasn't there, so I forgot about that.
That's going to be hard to beat.
That's going to be hard to beat. Primordial manga.
I can still remember how
when Naboo had been attacked
used to make me smile. And I knew if I had my chance that I could make those people listen
dance
to what I have to say about
this
book
stuff. My tablet.
But February made me shiver.
The new
because
series
we're in the basement and it's not finished.
The heater blows out the breaker. We have to be. We are so distractible right now. You know what we are for this episode? Even though we don't get into this first chapter of this manga, we are unfocused. I'm not undeniable. I'm unfocused. And you're Unsakai.
You know what? You should tell us about the first chapter.
I'm going to tell you about the first chapter of Undead Unluck in the Fan the Hammer Quickfire. Or to shoot, that's something else. Bite the bullet in this Kermit speedrun summary before we continue to use our powers. A woman finally finishes her favorite manga, and now, standing above the train tracks, she will end herself. A crowd attempts to talk her down, but she wants out. She wanted a romance like the one in her manga, but decries that with her body, it'll never happen. She strikes back at the crowd with a knife, saying if they touch her body, they'll get an incurable disease and die. A strange shirtless man approaches the girl and impales himself on the knife nonchalantly, spitting up blood. The girl panics, and the man grabs her face in excitement to contract this killer disease, but instead the girl says he's getting her unluck. As the stone he was standing on breaks off and drops him in front of the approaching train where he is splattered. The girl laments over pulling someone else into her problems and not killing herself sooner, but then the man's head rolls over and speaks, saying they have something in common as his body rebuilds. The girl runs away crying zombie, but he gives chase saying he's not some rotting meat sack, but that he's undead. Also, he's naked now.
Luckily, you can't see his rotting meat sack.
Yeah. His big hog. His giant black sensor bar hog. Speaking of her unluck, the man picks her up and zooms off using his regenerating legs to spring himself up and across buildings. The woman worries she is being kidnapped as the man accosts her for more information about her unluck power, dangling her over the edge of a building. She recounts 10 years ago when she was 8, hugging her parents before they left on an overseas trip, but then the plane they boarded exploded, killing them and the 268 other people on the plane right in front of her. The more contact people make with her body, the bigger the unluck that strikes. The man takes this information and hugs her, triggering a banana crate to fall from the sky and smash him. The girl attempts to run, but slips on a banana peel and falls. Sorry, I just thought about watch and learn. Here's the deal. He'll slip and slide on this banana peel. We are number 1. Nope. Okay, back to it. Boss says back to it. Slips on a banana peel and falls from the building, but before she can die, the man rebuilds and saves her. He declares he's found the power to give him a real death, and it's her. It's time for research into her abilities so he can get hit with the biggest stroke of unluck possible to finally kill himself. As he runs away, people in black suits look over the scene and say they will capture the girl after confirming her powers. The man and woman are now in an abandoned building as the man does measured experiments about the girl's unluck powers. Getting too handsy, the girl runs and the man makes chase. In the chaos, the girl's hat and jacket falls off, showing her crazy long hair. The girl cries because she hasn't been able to get it cut because if anybody touches it, they get hit with unluck. The man holds her close and cuts her hair. He's undead and will be fine about whatever strikes, which ends up being a sword from one of the black suit people from earlier. They finally say the girl's name, Unluck Fukuo Izumo, and capture Undead before handcuffing her. They say their job is to police negators and umas, which we will learn about later, except not now, like a chapter later. The suited man continues talking about how he understands Fukuo's powers and how perfect they are for killing and nothing else. And that she is a weapon. They said Undead just wants her as a weapon, but she responds that he just wants to find a way to die, that he was the first person to touch her without any fear or worry. Then lightning strikes one of the agents that was holding the pod Undead was in, and he escapes. Undead escapes. Undead then removes the strange glass card thing shoved in his head, saying it's a cork that holds hundreds of years of memories, and then goes ham, killing all the agents before putting it back in. The final agent holds Fukuo at sword point, asking for Undead's head to save hers, which he complies to without waiting, despite Fukuo's cries to leave her to die, and that she's only trouble. Undead throws his head towards the agent. Fukuo thinks about how to trigger a big bout of unluck and kisses Undead's decapitated head and declares her unluck is coming. The agent grabs Undead's head, but he regenerates and holds the agent down while Fukuo runs out of the building before a meteor falls and explodes the building. We have a lot of meteors.
It's not going to be relevant because of when this will come out.
Yeah, this will not come out anywhere nearby, but we've recorded Royale with cheese. What the heck is it called? Astro Royale, where a meteor
if
fell.
I
and
had
also
a nickel
for every time we talked about a manga on this podcast where a meteor fell from the skies and obliterated people, I'd now have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's strange it's happened 3 times in this short of a span. I will continue this bit going forever.
Technically, this one was first.
True, but we got to it third. Undead exits, beat up but alive from the destroyed building, and the two finally introduce themselves to each other. We learn Undead's name is Andy. The chapter ends as the quest for the greatest death ever begins. That is Undead Unluck.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. Spoiler alert to everybody, just before we get into it, because it's going to shape how I talk to Brad about this. I've read all of this there is right now, except literally the chapter that dropped earlier today. I'm going to try my best not to use my future vision, but I will. But Brad has only this one chapter. Also, we're doing this so we can watch the anime, and I wanted to do this episode first.
I will preface this with the knowledge I shouldn't have, which is it's not as weird and I don't want to use the word, but SAE in the future.
Yes. The first chapter and kind of the first couple are, I guess this is, I'm going to use this future vision to go, no, I promise you, it's not as gropey as this first chapter the first couple are.
I think that
it drops that fairly quickly, and genuinely, no exaggeration, no cap, as nobody says anymore because it's not cool. The kids are not saying this. Adults are because we're lame. Genuinely some of the best female characters in the magazine right now.
I would say
no exaggeration.
The thing is like sometimes there's stuff like this and you go, hey, you need a content warning here.
Yep.
If you plan to read this, know that this is in there.
Yes.
I'm not sure that this really gets to the level of triggering. Now,
yes, obviously everybody has their own thing, but of the times we've seen this in manga, this isn't too bad.
Yeah.
There is an undercurrent here, and maybe this is my own reading of it, because when I read this first chapter initially, admittedly years ago, like I only just came back to it in the last couple of months to like read through all of it. Hi. Sometimes when you're on your lonesome and you're weird about people touching you, sometimes it'd be kind of nice if a cool hot person came by and decided they wanted to touch you. And you know what? Fukuo's kind of going through that. 'Cause she's like, I want this romance that's in this book, but I can't have it because when people touch me, they die in very terrible, traumatizing ways. And maybe I'm not that intense, obviously, but you know what? I wouldn't let Andy grope me, but I would let the female equivalent of Andy grope me. I say that. I probably wouldn't in actual, but in imagination land.
Suffice to say. I don't think we quite need to get to content warning with this. But
be aware. Be aware it's present. Be aware it goes away fairly quickly and then is never back.
Yeah. It didn't take me out of it for the most part. There were a couple parts where they started to go into that a little bit, and I was like, and then they went away.
Yeah.
And so it was like,
It's nice having Fukuo, who is the protagonist of the manga for the majority of it. She tags out at one point, Future Vision, for a little bit. Where she's not, like, sexualized.
Yeah.
She does have honkers. They're never ogled at, but they are present. And I will say, they are not unappreciated. Speaking of uns. She may be Unluck, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't want to get too much. I mean, I'm going to, but like, what did you think as reading a first chapter of a manga, knowing that this has a bunch of chapters and having an anime as well?
I mean, I'm not gonna approach it from that level at all.
Okay, I guess
I
that's
read the first chapter of this, and I went, "This is interesting. This is an original premise that they have here. Like, we've seen plenty of stuff before where people have powers that do certain things and everything, but like, this is a really interesting approach to it, where they're going, the powers that are at play here, for the most part, you can't really control it, although Andy can control his to some extent. And like, how are we going to like navigate this world where like they've already shown you that other people like this exist, although we don't really have a hint so far as to what their powers are. But this is a world you live in where there's basically superheroes who can't necessarily control their superpowers.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I'm glad that your curiosity of that was piqued, that it was just like, oh, I've set this up, that here are these ones, but also there's a world of possibility out there.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the first chapter that did its job.
We see a lot of times there's power systems that are sort of just like, here's a power system that we've put in place because we want to tell this story, and so we're going to put this power system on top of it so we can tell that story. Or, in worse manga, here's this power system that you've seen over and over again just so we can have people punch each other. There's nothing interesting going on. This is doing a thing where it's going, here's an interesting power system you haven't seen before, and also we're going to explore these people's relationships. They're doing both good things.
Yeah,
as far as I can tell from a first chapter.
Anyway. Again, Future Vision a little bit, because some of this episode is also pitching to human beings listening to this. If you have not read Undead Unluck, or you're not reading it, like, I implore you, it's like the secret gem of Shonen Jump that like the general populace, even if it's got an anime, like doesn't know about or talk about, but it's rad. Because so many power systems are based around like, oh, we're doing magic, or it's this particular thing. Like, but the theme here is concepts.
Yeah.
And it's concepts, and the way you think about them will change it, which I don't remember if we learned that entirely in the first chapter, but like, I guess maybe small spoilers, like, Unluck is not just both about contact, it's about contact and meaningfulness. I think I might have not captured it in the summary, or maybe it happens in like chapter 2 or 3, but it's like, Andy needs to literally get close to Fukuo in like a relationship, in an emotional sense. I don't think that was in the first chapter.
No, okay, so here's the thing.
I'm getting too strong Future Vision.
If you're paying attention, it is very obvious in the first chapter. Because what we see is that he touches her to cut her hair for 15 minutes. And then he gets struck by lightning, right?
Yeah.
And I did want to point out, in your summary, you said that the agent gets struck by lightning, but it's his head, which is inside some kind of ball, that gets struck by lightning, thereby also electrocuting the agent.
So yeah, Andy is the one being targeted.
When he throws his head to save Fukuo, and she ducks over and kisses him, a fucking meteor strike happens.
Yes.
The key there is, in that moment, she was having an emotional connection
I'm
to
having
him.
my romantic moment.
Right. And so, like I said, if you're paying attention, you can tell in that moment that, yes, her feelings on the matter are way more important than just the touching, which does matter, but not as much.
Hi, welcome again to Kermit is trying to pitch this manga with vague future vision at you. This manga has some freaking One Piece level of things of like, hey, the author, has this concept in my brain, and I'm writing from that place of concept, but I'm not going to directly tell you about this because that's not what we're talking about right now. But if you're paying attention, you will piece together things that have been here the whole time. And that's rad. I love, like, never have I been reading a manga and been like, I want to reread this because I will get so much more out of it on reread. And not even just in a sort of, like, emotional sense of what's going, like, but just, like, so many concepts you see. It's just, it's great. Undead Unluck is so good. If you like cool shonen stuff that makes you think, if you like One Piece level world building, maybe not that much, but, like, kind of, like, setting things up and then paying them off, like, way later than you expected. Like, oh, yeah, I remembered that. And, like, JoJo battles where it's just, like, you're working with weird power sets. Like, it's Undead Unluck. It's great.
Yeah.
Some of the best females in the magazine right now. It's consistently fascinating. It did something mechanically that I don't think I've ever, in this way, truly seen done in a manga or a series. Like, there's something I can say that it's kind of like, but, like, I don't even want to say what it's described as out loud, but like move over time skip. This is a new one, and when it happens, it's like, yeah, this is so cool that this is happening.
But we're not talking about
that. Sorry, I need to go back. I'm using my future vision to try to bait the hook too much. This is literally just baiting the hook for us to watch the anime and get people to read it.
I'd say the art style is really solid.
Yep.
There's definitely a stylization towards the characters, but like the backgrounds and stuff are pretty realistic and good.
And he spends half the chapter naked, and it's literally just a giant sensor bar over his giant hog. And you'd think that would be gross and off-putting, but it's like, it's kind of funny.
Here's the thing.
It's never played, like, everything in the first place is never played too grossly compared to, like, other things we've seen do that.
The sensor box is so large.
Comically large.
That it's basically like he's not naked, even though he obviously is and people around him are reacting to it.
I bet when we watch the anime, much like when I watched Hajime no Ippo, they'll play, like, elephant noises when the camera looks at it.
I guess we'll see. There was another thing I saw when I was like trying to pay attention to what's going on, because I know I had a vague knowledge that there was some deeper stuff going on, although I don't have any specifics.
Yep.
When he pulls that glass shard or whatever out of his head to like activate his old memories, his hair grows out.
Yep.
So the rest of the time, his hair is all like short and neat. And then like he pulls that out and his hair gets all long. It's like, why would that change anything?
Because you don't know what it is. That gets paid off literally like 100 or so chapters. Like fully what that is. Like you'll get hi, Future Vision more. I can't stop myself. I've just been dying to talk about this series. Like you get like a general piece about like, oh, this is what this is doing. And then like ages later, they pay off like, this is what it is. And that's rad. I like the idea that he can just do experiments because he just regenerates from whatever it is. He doesn't need to worry about getting blown up or sliced up or anything. He's just like, oh, let's do this now. Okay, now let's do this. And just tries everything. And I imagine the reason that he can do all of the interesting things with his body, like shoot his head around with streams of blood and like regenerate his bone out first into a spike so that he can stab the wall and stop them from stop walking out. Like
falling.
He can do like that. I don't remember if we see it in the first chapter, but he can shoot his fingers like bullets.
No, he didn't do that.
Okay,
yet.
He can shoot. There you go.
But I imagine that comes from the fact that he has spent so much time just experimenting with things. So I will say, I guess this is a little bit of spoiler for later. I'm not going to read all of this immediately.
Nope. We're going to watch it.
I did put it on my list. And depending on how I feel about the anime, I'll probably go back and read it.
I'm so curious about the anime because I haven't heard really anybody talking about it, so I don't know if it's good or not. But like, I just want to spend more time with these characters.
I'm not going to read it before we see the anime.
Correct.
Because I want to go into that fresh to give, since you have manga eyes, I want to go in with anime only eyes, which is normally not how it happens.
Correct.
So,
Usually it's been the other way around. Where do you think the story will go next? I'm not allowed to answer that question.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I like the power systems that they're putting in place and everything, I feel like it's still going to have that like shonen battler progression of like, oh, there's the big organization and there's people at different levels in it and we have to go and defeat one at a time and move up the ranks and like.
Do you know things, Brad?
No, I
you
don't.
Have future vision?
No, it's literally tropes.
Okay, I mean, yes. Undead plays
now,
with tropes and it loves them.
You can do a lot of interesting things in there.
You can.
But if you think like Mob Psycho, your Bleach, and like they all do it.
Yep.
I've listed 2, but they all do it.
A lot of them do it.
So it's the same thing with the sports ones where it's like, here is your standard structure and you can do details differently and you can do character relations differently. But at the end of the day, these are the beats that you're going to hit as you move towards a hopeful conclusion, unless you get signed on for another 3 seasons of anime, at which point you need to figure out how to extend it.
So with that, it's ready for your woo quick draw thing. I'm just going to abstain from this. My vote is forfeit. Sometimes when we're the earlier seasons, it's like I have a little future vision, but this is like I have all vision that currently exists in English, and it's a lot.
Yeah, and this is one of those ones where it's like, well, there's not a thread in Shonen Flap Discord we can go to.
We made one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because people were talking about it too much, and I'm like, I need to not be spoiled. Put that over there, and then I'll join you when I'm done.
Not from the beginning.
Correct, yes. Because it started probably before that Discord existed.
Yeah, and there's not an actual flop pool to go along with this one.
But actually, we need to before we do our quick draw.
Oh, yeah. We need to explain what's going on. So I'm just going to tell you. Oh, okay. Truxon's going to do it. All right. I guess he can.
He can do it. Hey, everybody. It's me. It's Truxan, your friendly neighborhood Truxan. It's Truxan's Rule of Range. So we're at the bottom. We got Dead Walking, Dead in 20 chapters or less, an early grave, like Do Retrial or Candy Flurry. Next up from that, we got a flop, granted a stay of execution, under 50 chapters, like a Fabricant 100, or a Doran Dororan, whatever that is. Next up is It'll Live, hangs on just past flop zone, sub 120 chapters, like PPPPPP, or Magu-chan. Then we got Solid, series that does well but hasn't reached its true popularity, like an Akane Banashi or Undead Unluck. Can get an anime. Then we got the hit, truly popular with an anime and hundreds of chapters, like a Black Clover and Assassination Classroom. And finally, oh my gosh, the Supernova, industry shaker and shaper. Readers want to be with them, other manga want to be like them, like a Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen. And that's Truxan's Rules of the Range. Back to you.
Well, thanks, Truxon. I mean, I was going to do it, but that's fine. Thanks.
Untruck. So with that, Brad, you're the only one that gets to do it because it's just going to be me gushing about it.
All the power.
Yeah. I'm not allowed to play. I've got too much power.
Well, this is also difficult for me considering that I know that it has lots of chapters and an anime.
Yeah, I know. But just, I know. And also me gushing about it over here, which is not helping matters. I could not let it. We will do more old series, but this one genuinely, like, I'm too close to it, and I can't help myself.
The other problem here is that this series is literally in the explanation for Solid.
You are right. You are correct, sir.
I'm gonna do something a little controversial though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call this a hit.
Maybe.
It got
who knows
an anime.
It did,
which is part of Solid. True. However, given what I read of the first chapter, and hearing bits and pieces of people talking about it, I think the anime is really going to kick it up, and I think it's going to get out of control.
I hope so. How do you feel about it, though?
I feel great.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. This doesn't get to the level of amazing or I'm going to murder everybody.
Yeah.
But
not everything can be Astro Baby.
Yeah.
Wistful.
But it's just I had a good time with it.
Stuff.
I'm interested in it. I'm going to keep checking it out with the anime, but probably read the manga if the anime really does it for me. So
I feel like being intrigued is one of the strongest states you can be in after reading a first chapter. Because if I'm not feeling intrigued, I will read the second chapter. I won't want to. Out of professional.
The only thing beyond intrigued that hooks you to get to that next one is where they really hook you into a character.
That's a different kind of intrigue.
Yeah, I that's probably a fine explanation.
I want to see more. I'm curious what this character will do next.
Yeah. I feel like it.
I guess an argument can be made how that was different.
Close enough.
Okay. And the final thing of our check for that, would you keep reading this if you had to go to Barnes & Noble? You're at Barnes & Noble or your bookstore of choice. That just happens to be the one near us, near the studio. And you picked it off of the shelf because of recommendation. You read the first chapter. Would you buy it? Would you spend 10 to 12 U.S. currency to get that Tankobon?
No, because it's on Crunchyroll. I'm going to watch it.
Hey, nope, that's valid. That is valid.
No,
it's not a good version, but it's valid.
If the anime didn't exist, I would buy the first volume.
Intrigued enough to keep looking.
Which I can do by going on Viz and buying the first volume.
Yeah, or just giving them the subscription and reading it that. But there's, like I said, there's something about having to put cash on the physical table for a book.
I think it probably is at Barnes & Noble, too.
Almost assuredly.
But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I'm interested.
That's Undead Unluck. For everything that I have told you, there is an infinite number of things that I have not told you about, as much as I used my Future Vision. Speaking of which, Future Vision, because we're here now, currently, I believe just today, there is now 202 chapters at time of recording. I am one behind because I didn't have time today. Yeah. I love the series. I don't think I've seen a manga that made me cry as much as this one has, but like as not in like a sad thing happened, but like big shonen emotions.
Yeah.
And like I like spending time with it. It just has it just does so many fun, cool things. The other thing it does from One Piece is it never forgets to have fun even while it's doing its like big setups and world building moments. It always remembers to have fun. And I love a manga that can keep that going while also juggling a bunch of complicated things. I don't remember what I say next. Oh, thank you for listening. Yep. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Brad, fill me full of lead.
I like that. Keep that one.
Yeah.
Well, as always, we want to thank Sugoi Mart for partnering with us. Sugoi Mart's a retailer of Japanese snacks, drinks, toys, and merch, and they got a lot of cool stuff you can't get outside Japan. Our listeners can check the link in the description or use code APR15 at checkout to get 15% off their first order, which also helps us out. And we want to know what you think. So hit us up on social media, which you can find links for on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com, where you can also leave comments about these podcast episodes. You can also find us on Discord. Come and chat with us in our Discord, where we chat about these series, and also you can find us on the Shonen Flop Discord.
Admittedly.
And don't forget to check out our Patreon. Our supporters get perks like getting to vote on which series to cover on Heroin Addiction, getting the high-quality stereo version of the episode early, and also bonus episodes. The lowest tier is only $1 to get those bonus episodes, so you should definitely check that out. And we'd love to hear what perks you'd like. And of course, we got to shout out our patrons. At our Reincarnator tier, we've got Moon and Cake Dwarf. At our Merchant tier, we've got Kill Hour. And last but not least, at our Commoner tier, we've got Rena. Thanks so much to all our patrons.
Thank you once again, everybody, for listening to our episode on Undead Unluck. Make sure you listen to the mainline podcast. That time I got reincarnated in the same world as an anime podcaster, and oh gosh, Brad, I think I gained the negator power unstoppable. I don't know how to stop the podcast now. We literally can't stop the podcast. This podcast is unstoppable now. How do we stop?
That's a good point, because I did want to say, when we watch the anime, it's going to be really interesting, because it's sort of a reverse situation that we have with Frieren right now.
Where we read the manga.
Where, we both read it, but then you stopped. You stopped at the tournament arc. And we're at the point in the anime now where we're past where you read. And so I'm sitting there the whole time going, oh, the next thing's coming up and he's going to be surprised. And I have to not say anything about it.
I don't think we've watched anything where I'm the knowledge base. And also that I've read it so recently that it's generally fresh, which is also not usually true. So this will be good. But
it's going to be fun.
How do we stop the podcast, Brad? We're unstoppable.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how we're going to end this, where the actual ending goes at this point. I think you've affected all of the space around us.
Yes.
With your unstoppable energy
my negator powers. This outro is going supposed to do, long, Brad.
Somebody's going to have to come in here.
Do a thing that ends. How do you end the other podcast?
Which one?
What? The one that we have a phrase to end it. Use that one.
What?
Okay, we have to drop the bit now.
What phrase do I...
It's time to shut up. Which they don't know that yet because that episode hasn't come out.
Oh, Bakabanashi.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the first episode...
We didn't know that.
I said, the council has spoken.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens now. Well, I think we're stuck here forever.
We might be just podcasting forever. This is not funny.
I'm hungry.
I might be unfunny as well. I don't think you can gain 2 negator powers, but I might have gotten 2.
The real question is, if this just keeps going on and on, are people actually going to listen to this, or will they just turn it off?
This podcast will become the negator unlistenable.
People are going to be looking at their device and going, how much more time is left here?
We have to get to the outtakes. They're really funny this time, people. I promise you. We recorded them before Unfunny kicked in.
I need to put in lots and lots of outtakes so that the episode goes longer, so when they look at the time, they're going to be like, oh my God, this goes on for another 10 minutes.
What's happening?
What are we even doing
Land the
right
plane.
now? Whoa. What if the plane explodes?
Oh shit, I didn't think about how I was going to do this, the episode call out.
Do you ever?
Sometimes I put some thought into it, like, oh, I've been cooking on this, but like I read this summary ages ago, so it's like, because I already have what I'm calling us, but not the opening.
That's the opposite of how it normally goes.
Yeah, usually I have that. Well, because usually I can feel like, oh, that's what this is telling me, that either these series don't give me that, or I'm tired and that part of my brain is not currently working today, which is very probable.
On this episode, Undead Unluck!
Fuck it, use that. That was killer. Oh, you know what? Now you just make me want to do that. Hey. Even though that doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to do it. On today's episode, Undead Unluck.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah, on today's episode, Undead Unluck.
Yeah.
Get in, you're cool. That's the announcer doesn't say that. Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go. Yeah. Dum 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 dum. There's other songs that you could start with, but it has to be that one. That's the canonical starting song in my brain, which means it is for reality.
Get in, losers. We're trying to commit suicide.
I'm going to try go commit die. This voice is a little bit the, like, meme Sonic voice, or at least the Sonic voice that Aaron Egoraptor uses. I'm Sonic. Ha! Chili dog.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go kill myself. Man, the outro beefs are gonna be that's top. We don't got to do any more. It's full of too much top stuff. One more for fun because I just love doing this voice. Hi, I'm gonna tangent. So there's this terrible cartoon that was made in the late 90s, early 2000s that was just them re-editing old Disney cartoons to make them more, I guess, palatable to the younger, hip, extreme audience. And it was called Blam. And they would play it for years in the buses when we would take from the airport to the hotels. And I'm sad that it's gone. Because it was the most awful early 2000s thing. It was like, Blam! And it's like one of them is like Donald is playing hockey on the ice and the chipmunks are messing with him. Chip and Dale are messing with him or something. Or like his nephews are. I don't remember the particulars.
I feel like I remember that, especially the name, but I can't access any memories about it.
But it's just like it's just like there's so many dumb lines that like I love them now because they're just so terrible, but it's also not the world we live in anymore, so it's like a delicacy. And there's just one that just I think came to mind again recently where it's like he gets bumped on the nug and he goes, he hit his head, he banged his head, now he's head banging. And it's like, and some of these are like, this isn't a joke or a pun, you're just saying words, there's no gag here, but you're talking like you're pretending this is like a clever joke. Not even clever, you're pretending like there's a humor here and you're just saying things.
Instead of someone going, hey, this is a thing I want to do, some executive was like, you guys go do this thing.
Go make this extreme for the teens. Oh yeah, it's Blam! I'm gonna tear my fucking vocal cords out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Now it's the Big Bopper here.
Oh, I was going for Kool-Aid Man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Isn't he a little more gravelly?
Maybe.
I thought he was like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Snap into a Slim Jim.
Macho Man. Macho Madness. Oh yeah. It's the Big Bop. This episode
we need to be able to actually talk
Brad,
here.
my brain is soup. The agent grabs Undead's head, but sorry. The agent grabs Undead's head, but he regenerates and holds him and Fukuo. Man, I did not write this sentence poorly. I wrote it very poorly. What? Maybe you got a different unpower. What unpower can you get? Oh,
I was going to cut it.
And then you would put an explosion sound. Okay, say that again, and I'll shut up, and I'll just scream.
What do you? No, I'm literally just going to cut it off right there.
Oh, okay, that works.
I wanted to say that.
I like that. I was like, we'll do a quick bit. Brad battle back. That's the guy, and you just responded calmly. We just started having a conversation. I'm like, I need to crank the panic back up. It's the outro. It needs to be like, ah!
I was going to wait until we were done to talk about that Freerin thing because I was thinking about it. And I was like, oh, I can stick that at the end.
Now.
And then I was like, oh, okay, we're going to do it this way.
Yeah. Because the gag was, it was like the podcast can't stop. It's unstoppable.
Yeah. I think it works.
Yeah. It was a drive the bit into the ground bit, and I think it drove enough that it was funny again.
Oh, I had put that episode of Hot Ones.
I need to watch with Conan?
Yeah.
I still need to watch that.
Oh my God. He's literally he's like a giant Irish white man.
Yes, I know.
Right?
When I was younger, I freaking loved Conan O'Brien.
And he's just eating wing after wing after
insane.
wing. And
so strange.
I don't know if no sell is the right word, but he's basically going, what is this? I thought they were supposed to be hot. Yeah. When are the hot ones start? He got through every single one doing that. And he escalated quite a bit. And he gets to Da Bomb. And around like the fifth one, he started putting more on. And he gets to the bomb, and you can see on Sean Evans' face, he's like, oh no.
You're not doing well.
Not gonna be good.
I don't think Conan O'Brien has a lot of spice resistance as one of the palest men that have ever been born.
And that's why it was so brilliant, because you know that.
But he knows how to roll with it. I will always remember back when I used to watch Hot Ones more, there was some like either comedian or sports person that came, I think it was a comedian, that like I just didn't like their vibe.
Yeah.
And they're like, haha, I'm going to be funny. I'm going to eat the hottest one first. And then they were just fucked up the rest of the interview and suffering. And it's like, serves you fucking right. You suck. Like you could do that, but like you need somebody like Conan who was like funny and could sell it and not just be like, I'm going to do it. And the host is like, I don't think you should. Like, genuinely, like, I don't think that's a bad, like, genuinely, it's a bad idea. It will ruin the interview because you're just going to be laid out. No, and then it wasn't. It was a terrible episode.
He literally, you could see he was that's what makes physically Conan great, breaking down.
He will play up the big guy, and then the veneer will shatter, and he's falling to pieces. It was part of my comedy.
It was brilliant though, because he was breaking down, and he still kept it
doing
up.
The bit.
Because before
Conan,
that,
he exudes a bit field around him.
Before that, you could sort of see it was starting to affect him, but for the most part, the bit was like working, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because like his eyes weren't watering, his nose wasn't running, anything like that. Just like he was being really bombastic about it not being hot, which was an indicator that he was in some pain.
Yeah, he was overselling it.
But then once he got to the bomb, and then he kept doing that, putting more on.
He's a professional.
And he was literally melting.
He's literally a professional jester. Like, more than any other funny people on the planet, Conan O'Brien is a professional modern jester. And the man is good at his job.
Not to mention that he had a side bit going on.
Of course he did.
Where he had this guy who was his doctor, quote unquote, which was so ridiculous and crazy. I was just like, I don't think that was necessary, but okay. It was legitimately a really good episode. It was the season ender episode.
It sounds like it would be good for that.
Yeah,
so maybe
really
I'll start
good.
Watching Hot Ones
if most people aren't on our Discord, so if you're listening to this, you're not on our Discord. First of all, come get on our Discord. What the hell's wrong with you?
This isn't going in an episode.
Yeah, I'm going to put this at the end so that the end is super
You're
long.
Use up all of our time for putting stuff on the feed this month.
Oh, we got plenty of extra time now.
Okay.
Going to the 6-week schedule.
Oh, yeah, true.
But people should really go and watch that episode of Hot Ones. They're not going to know about it if they're not on the Discord. Most people aren't on the Discord. You should be on the Discord so you know about things. I post all kinds of stuff on the Discord. You should get on there.
I pay attention to them. I pay attention to them. I don't always get around to them.
All the Dottie Fryer stuff I put up on there for the
cool music.
What episode was that?
I maybe talked about the Northern Boys that I cannot stop listening to.
Yeah, there was a little bit in there. I don't think we really explained to people what the Northern Boys is, though.
No.
Somebody's going to hear that and be like, oh, what's the Northern Boys? And go, oh my God, what is this?
I don't remember what context I brought up the Northern Boys somewhere, and Maxie B, the Brit, is instantly like, oh yeah, those guys are great. And I'm like, rad. Brits know about the Northern Boys and knows how cool they are.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording now.
Yeah.